Okay, Amber. So my first question is, how have you been? And give me the realest answer. Don't just say good. Give me the realest answer.
I always keep it real. I've been okay. I'm gonna say okay because I'm a business owner
Okay.
and that's never easy.
Hmm.
Um, I've handled all of the challenges that have come my way, but it wasn't very comfortable.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that if you're open.
So, yes, we can talk about everything. Let's go.
So tell us about your business. What do you sell?
Okay, so I do coaching. I
Mm,
got into this because I myself needed permission to be my authentic self.
mm,
And I started studying like subconscious reprogramming. I took a course in NLP. I took a course in somatics because I had so much anxiety and stress.
mm,
And they teach you in NLP that everything is a mirror. So if I was the problem, I could also be the solution, which I really like because I
mm.
feel like everyone goes through stuff. It's what we do with the trauma or the things that we went through.
Right.
So, one, I wanted to heal myself. I wanted to be a better mother. And I wanted to turn my pain into purpose. I didn't want to just have gone through that
For no
and
reason.
not share my story or help others.
Right.
So, I got into coaching, but I didn't realize that would be, like working on yourself times 1,000 every single day
Yeah.
and learning marketing and all these other things that I didn't know I was signing up for.
It sounds like you're juggling a lot.
Yeah, but because I know the work, like, nervous system and stuff like that, I have expanded so much and I have been able to take on stuff I think would have like crippled me a year ago. I probably would have just been like, I can't, I need a nap, like I'm done.
Yeah. No, I
And
think life
now
can get very exhausting, can't it?
it can, if you're not, I feel like if you take care of yourself and you have radical self love, life can be easier
Mm. So,
because we weigh ourselves down with those negative thought loops and those beliefs that other people put on us.
mm. So you think, what do you think is the key to being less exhausted?
Nervous system regulation.
Mm. Yeah, let's talk about
I
that because I know very little about the nervous system, so I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Okay, so have you ever like, I don't know, like you're going on a date or something
Hmm.
and you're excited but you're also nervous.
Sure.
It shows up in your body. It's
Hmm.
not just, thoughts that we have. Our subconscious mind and our body are connected.
Right.
So before you even realize the negative loop that you're in, your body is trying to warn you, which is why we have anxiety and illness is our body trying to speak to us.
Yeah.
Because
Trying
I
to
was
protect us.
protect us.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's saying, hi, help me. Like
Yep.
I'm going through something.
Yep.
And I really don't understand why they never taught this in school
Yeah.
because so many people are, angry or people get in trouble in school or there's like, fighting in school. Why don't we teach the youth to regulate themselves?
Yeah.
Because that would stop a lot of problems if people took a second, slowed down, and took a breath, but no one teaches it. And I, as an adult, didn't know that. So when my kids were coming to me like, mom, 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 I'm like, what? You know what I mean? And I'm like, ah!
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to be that person. So I had to teach myself to start my day off with regulation. But then when something arose that wasn't, a fun instance for me, like the kids crying or whatever, I have now been able to learn that I can take a second. I can take a breath. I don't have to react to life. I get to create my reality. I get to create what I want in my life. So, nervous system regulation has been the biggest like saver I think of my family. I don't think my kids would have grown up to like me
Mm.
and I don't think I would have been the parent I want to be because after doing the work and learning about it, I realized my mom was dysregulated. And
Mm.
that's why she didn't have the emotional capacity to be the mother I needed.
Can we
So
talk more about your mom? Can we go down
yeah,
that road?
let's do it. She'll love it.
Tell us what she was like.
So I'm a millennial. I was born
Same.
1990. Yeah,
89. 89.
89. Okay. Well, still, we're like OG millennials. And I feel like our parents didn't always know how to deal with us.
Yeah.
At that time, it was like kids need to be quiet. And to shut us up, most people like beat their kids or yelled at their
Yeah.
kids
Yeah.
because they didn't know to take a breath, to take a
Mhm.
second, that it was okay for them to put themselves first to regulate so they could be a better parent. They were, I feel like, going around just reacting to life. And it made it, for me personally, harder on me because I was told, well, she would yell at me. And then I was told, well, don't cry. Stop crying before I give you something to cry about. Or you're just being emotional. Or even to this day, when I tell her story, she's like, whatever, I don't want to hear about it because she doesn't like the way it makes her feel. And instead of being able to sit with that, she is still reacting to life instead of creating safety in her life, her body, you know what I mean? And
Would
for
you
those people around her.
would you describe her as a narcissist?
Yeah, I have a couple of times. She doesn't love it. She doesn't love it.
They never do, right?
No, they don't. But I've I've been on Instagram and I see a lot of posts and it's like, this is what narcissistic people. I'm like, ooh, you know what I mean? Or I posted something and she follows me and she's like, take that down. I was like, I'm sorry, suppress my truth because it makes you uncomfortable. I don't like, I'm not, I grew up, I got out. So now I'm living how I wanted to be treated, how I wanted to be parented, how I wanted everything. This is my chance to do right by me and my inner child, but also to show my children this is what parenting can look like. So when they have their own lives, they don't have to repeat the cycle.
So it sounds like you broke the cycle.
I had to. I'll break that the hammer. I stepped on it. I swept it in glass, put it in
Yeah.
separate trash cans so I can get back. It's done.
So how do you understand what made your mom that way?
I feel like living life myself and seeing the patterns in myself made me, be able to forgive her, have compassion, but also helped me realize why she did some of the things that she did. So she had me when she was 19.
Oh, wow.
She wasn't ready to be a parent. She wanted to still party and stuff.
At
So,
19, of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I was kind of like cramping her style, I feel like. And then her and my dad went through a really messy breakup. So, because I was his child, I feel like she projected onto me her hurt from him.
Yeah.
So, like, I remember I was downstairs in the kitchen and I was doing something. And she said something to me, and I turned and she's like, "Don't make that face. You look like your father." And I was like, "It's my only face. Like, what do I, you know what I mean?" I was just like a kid. I'm like
Well,
8. I'm like, okay.
yeah. I also think that she projected her pain from not wanting a child onto you.
Yeah, all of it. That's what I'm saying. She never dealt with it. So it just kept getting projected. And then later on, she had my brother. He had to deal with his own projections. But then also, so I'm mixed. I'm half black. So she's a black woman. So I feel like life is harder for women. And then I feel like black women, especially, or women of color, they
Yeah.
go through a lot more. And I know sometimes she was trying to help me to shield me, but she'd be like, "Don't wear that, don't do that, then you're gonna be the problem if they like try to hit on you," you know what I mean? Like she was always shaming me, but I think it came from a place of, I don't want someone to take advantage of you. But it wasn't done in a compassionate way. It wasn't done in a way of like explaining or a conversation. It was done through like aggression and yeah, very shameful. So me, like a lot of women I have, coached or be friends with or talked to or whatever, even if their parents were very loving and not narcissistic, they say pretty much the same thing, that they were shamed, that they were told to be smaller, When a man or a grown up is talking, don't talk. Uh, just all these things that society tells us as women how we have to slowly, be put in this box. And then so many women, I feel like now it's a trend. Everyone wants a soft life
Yeah.
because we grew up so hard
Yeah.
that we're tired of
Yeah.
being strong. We
Mm.
want someone to take care of us.
Hmm.
So I started my own little journey of that, like with the nervous system regulation and going through the healing process, all the journaling, all the forgiving. But I realized I was not alone. And that's why I love that you have this podcast. That's why I love people who share their stories because we're supposed to be connected as humans. We're
Yeah.
supposed to have community.
Hmm.
But so many people suffer in silence or think they're the only one going through stuff.
Yeah.
And then they get depressed or suicidal because they feel so lost and alone. And I just, I don't want to have that happen. So if I can stop that by talking, I love talking.
Yeah, no, and that's why I started this podcast because I noticed there are a lot of people who have a lot to say, but they don't really have a platform to say it. And I'm really happy to give people the platform. 'Cause, I'm already hearing a lot of weight on your shoulders, and it sounds like you took a lot of that weight off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
So my
wondering,
daughter wouldn't have to carry it.
and I'm wondering how much of that weight is still there.
I mean, there's still weight there because as much therapy and work I have done to forgive as a mom, sometimes I'm just like, I can't understand why someone would do something like this. Like I can forgive you, but it doesn't really make it right. I'm forgiving you for me. I'm forgiving you so you can have a relationship with my children. I'm forgiving you, I guess, selfishly, but it doesn't make it right. And it doesn't mean it was okay.
I also don't think that you have to forgive.
I don't think you always have to forgive, but for me and myself, I wanted to let
Make
it kind of just make space for more love instead of resentment or, lower vibration emotions.
Is she still the same way today?
No, she got breast cancer and then she found Jesus.
Oh, okay.
So now she is very different. But that was like wildly weird to me because one day I was living in Spain. I moved back. I hadn't seen her in a while. I go to her house and she's like, I love you, blah, blah. I'm like, you have never told me that. You know what I mean? I'm like, I remember when I was little, I'd be like, I love you. And she'd be like, back at you. I was like, oh,
Wow.
okay. So
Cool.
now I come back and she's found God and she's like loving everyone. And I'm like, what? So I think that was also easier to forgive when you see a change in behavior. But it's it's mind boggling sometimes to try to understand because I don't think we can always get closure. I don't think we can always understand why people do things. But from what I do understand, I know she was in survival mode. I know she didn't have anyone to model the kind of mother I wanted. So I can't really blame her. I think she did the best that she could. I know she loves me. I just don't think she showed it the way I needed her to or could be the version of her I needed when I was younger.
So can I stop you for a second? So you
Yeah.
said something that caught my attention. You said that you can't blame her. And I'm wondering if that's true or not.
I mean, I guess
In my eyes, you can totally blame her.
yeah, I can, but where does that get me?
No, that's a good question. I think that I think that a little bit of resentment is healthy. And this is where some people agree, disagree. But I think that one thing I noticed about anger is if we don't place anger properly, then it goes to ourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's better to put it on the abuser than on yourself. So if you've reached a point of forgiveness, that's amazing. But in my eyes, you're allowed to be angry at your abuser. I'm not saying it's necessarily, it's healthy or not healthy, but I think that you're allowed to.
Yeah, I think everyone's journey is different and you are definitely allowed to. But for me to hold space for other people, for
Mhm.
me to have these conversations, I had to stop identifying as that hurt child and start pouring love into that child. And once
Yeah.
I started doing that, I was like, I am a mom now. I know it's so hard. Oh,
Mhm.
wow, she didn't have Instagram or all these tools where I can just go Google, why do I get mom rage? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just, I don't want to put energy or have hate in my heart or resentment or anger or these, low vibrations. So if someone pisses me off, I'm out here with a pillow, like beating my
Yeah.
fucking couch and like, because I have to get it out somehow or I go
Uh-huh.
work out.
Uh-huh.
I have healthy releases so I don't let it ruin who I'm trying to be and the relationships I want in the future. Because hurt people.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure I remove my hurt. That's
Yeah.
my job, you know?
So you mentioned that you like beat the pillows. So like I'm wondering like do you ever like st put your foot down on people? Like do you
Yeah,
ever
all the time, all the time. So like I've done well with coaching. I've made, some money. Some months are like 10K, some months are lower. But
Wow.
because I
Is this
have,
through Instagram?
yeah,
Wow.
so because I have shown my family that I've done well, they will text me when they need something. So my aunt texted me and said, "Hey, your dad needs this. Buy it for him, whatever." Okay, cool. Got it. Then, like a week later, she texted me something else that she wanted me to get for him. And so I said, "He's a grown man. If he wants it, he can get it. Don't text me to tell me." And then she was like, "Buy this. Okay, thanks. Love you. Bye." Like that was not an ask of me. That was rude to me. That
Yeah,
that made me feel like you were taking advantage of me.
sure.
So real quickly, I said, "I will not be doing this. If you want to get it for him, if he wants it, that's perfectly fine." And the next time I saw her, she was like, "Oh my God, blah, blah." I'm like, "I'm not mad. I'm good. I
Mm,
told you what I was willing to do and what
mm,
I wasn't. I don't need to be mad at you. I don't need to hold on to it. I
mm.
said what I said for myself. So I don't have resentment. I really do not want anger and resentment in my heart because I had
You've
it
had
for so
enough of it.
long
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it didn't make me a better person.
yeah,
It
yeah,
really
yeah.
didn't. I feel lighter. I feel happier. And I don't remember smiling and just, looking at the trees and the sky when I was filled with that anger. And
So,
I
so
just
what
want
I
to.
would say is that you had to go through that phase to get to where you are now. Like you
Mm-hmm.
had to go through that anger and resentment to get to where you are now. I don't look at it as you were a bad person or you were unhealthy. I look at it as you went through that phase. It wasn't your fault, and you had to go through that I don't know what word to use, that garbage to get to the space you are now.
Yeah. But it's weird because I believe we have that power, but no one teaches us that we can be the creators of our reality.
Hmm.
That when something happens to us, a circumstance outside of us, yes, we are the victim in that, but do we want to live there or do we want to try to heal? Do we want to try to overcome and share? Because I've known so many people who have gone through such horrific things and end up being the most beautiful souls who can hold space for others and heal others. And
Yeah.
I'm like sitting there like, oh, I'm just mad at my mom from something that happened in, 1998. Like,
Yeah.
is this really serving me?
Uh-huh.
And the answer was no.
Well, a lot of people nowadays just cut people off, including family. They just cut them off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not around them 24/7.
Have you
Like
cut people
it's
off in your life?
yeah. Why would I keep someone in my life if they're not treating me how I want to be treated?
Yeah.
If they're not bringing me joy, if they're draining my energy,
Hmm.
that I mean, I have one whole life to live and I'm
Yeah.
not going to live it lesser than to make other people comfortable
Yeah.
or to, I don't know, keep a relationship that doesn't serve me.
Sometimes you got to be a little selfish, right?
Yeah, that's if my mom today was like started acting like she did when I was a child, I would have been like, all right, bye. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Yeah.
she has changed and I have done the work. Oh my God, I have so many narcissists in my life. Let's move on to my father.
Sure, sure. I was gonna ask eventually, so why not?
Yeah. So my parents didn't work out because they were both very selfish and very narcissistic. Um, my father has a couple of kids, but he had me and then he moved to Florida. He had a kid there. Then he moved to Texas. He had a kid there.
Wow.
And
Busy man.
yeah, um, this guy reached out to me on Facebook and said that he was my brother. And I was like, oh, yeah,
Really?
like, okay, like literally a couple months ago. And I was like, oh, okay, like, cool, whatever. So I asked my dad, and he was like, yeah, this is my son. Okay, cool. Because my brother reached out to me and was talking to me, my dad felt like we might be talking about him and therefore told us that he wasn't going to have any contact with either one of us because he felt some type of way.
I would say scared.
Yeah,
Some
like,
type of scared.
but like, what are you hiding, sir? Like, why are you, you know what I mean? And me and my brother were just kind of like, and my brother was pissed. My brother was like, he's not a good dad, blah, blah. I said, ah, like, I'm sorry, I can't really feel the void because you weren't there for me most of my life. And you've never really brought like love or value to me. So when you tell me that if I'm going to have a relationship with my brother, you're not going to be in my life, I'm like, well, brother's super nice, texts me, knows my kid's name, sends me present. You alive.
Adds no value to your life.
Easy to say. I was just like, thumbs up, bye. Like, I don't have the energy to put into people who don't put energy into me. And that's just how I'm living now, you know?
I mean, yeah, the way I think is you got to add value to my life one way or another. A little bit selfish maybe, but somehow you got to add value to my life.
How is that selfish? We are here to take care of ourselves.
Uh,
If someone is draining from self,
mhm.
we were not wombed together. You
Yeah,
didn't come into this earth with me. You
yeah.
can go. Bye, sir.
So I know you mentioned the a codependent dynamic. Let's talk about that.
Okay. So because both of my parents were kind of narcissistic and weren't really the parent that I needed, I decided that in love, I was going to overgive and make sure that the person needed me, that
Okay.
I was valuable,
Necessary.
necessary,
Yeah.
which became codependent because my ex-husband, my kid's father,
Mhm.
and me got married. And after we got married, his mom told me that he had like a drinking problem. He had a couple of
Mhm.
DUIs that I didn't know about and some other stuff.
He hid it from you.
Yeah, I like she knew, but no one told me. And then one day I went outside and he was just like mad about something, but there's like a dry drunk. So when you're not drinking, you get like really irritated because you want to be drinking.
Hmm.
So I went outside to get something out of the car and I found a box of wine underneath the seat. And he had been driving around with my child drinking wine. So when he,
Terrible.
yeah, so I was like, excuse me, what? And he was like, don't leave me, like, whatever, hide all my secrets, whatever. So I stayed and we moved to Spain and it got worse. Like, I would find, like, I went to a fashion show that I was in. And
Mhm.
when I came back home, there was a bottle of Smirnoff that he had finished in about 2 hours.
Wow.
So then he's passed out on the couch. My daughter's outside looking for an adult. I couldn't find my daughter because she wandered through the backyard searching for someone to make her lunch because he's passed out. And
Terrible.
my son was locked in like the back room where we kept our cat litter box eating cat litter. So the Navy took him because he acted a fool and they put him in like the drunk tank for the Navy, I guess.
Okay.
But for the next 3 days, I had to help my son pass out, cat litter from his bum and all of these side effects. And I just like was like, what am I doing? I'm telling all these people he doesn't feel good because he's drunk. Everyone thinks that like I'm a bad wife because, he's just like, she's mean, like, and I'm just keeping it up because I don't want to admit what my life is. I don't want to expose him. And it just made me feel depressed. And I feel like if you're not authentic, you're not going to be as happy. When you stop caring about what other people thinking, you can be true and you can say what you feel, you're lighter. But I was so depressed and so secretive and hiding all these things that it made me wildly just not a shell of a person. It was just not who I wanted to be. And I started going to therapy. I started going with him, but he didn't want to go, so I went by myself. This is when I realized the codependent tendencies that I was, having and playing into
Hmm.
because I wanted to be chosen, because I wasn't
Hmm.
by my parents,
Hmm.
because I wanted to feel needed and
Sure.
provide value.
Hmm.
So again, it's not my fault these things happened to me, but I took it as my responsibility because I could have stayed in that relationship. I could have never healed things and kept repeating the cycle of, if you break up with one emotionally unavailable person, you're probably going to date the same one unless you work on you.
Yeah.
So having, normally I've always had like a best friend as a therapist.
Hmm. Hmm.
So having people in my corner that could articulate what I was feeling and push me in the right direction, and then having the willingness of wanting to change and wanting to be better, made it possible for me now to have this life that I actually enjoy, that I actually love and don't feel like I have to hide from, or keep secrets.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that he was holding you down and you didn't know what he was like. You didn't know that he was an alcoholic, and it sounded like he was holding you down emotionally. And then once you went to therapy, that's when you realized what, that he's basically leaning on you and he was depending on you. And is that when you broke it off?
I wish. Um, yeah, I gave you the Sparks Notes version. So like I realized, and it started trending down. Then we decided to separate and stuff like that. And it was just kind of like, the lull. Like I
Mhm.
wasn't really making moves to really create that life. But then that's when I started going to therapy. So it was literally like a year where we were separating. I was going to therapy, but I was in Spain and I wanted to leave. And I remember it being like, I'm leaving. I applied for an early release of dependence. And I was so excited. My friend was like, there's this thing called COVID. You're not going to be allowed to go anywhere. And I was like, girl, no, I'm out of here. Like, I'm leaving. No, I did not leave. I got stuck in Spain for about 7 months
Because of COVID.
on lockdown. Like, when I say
Terrible.
lockdown, like, we could not be in our front yard.
Oh my gosh.
We could not go to the grocery store. The police would pull us over and we had to show a receipt. Like in
So nobody
America,
was
y'all have,
working? Like
huh?
nobody went out to work?
If you had to have a paper. They
I
had to
see.
have some kind of documentation that you weren't just out
I
driving.
see. I see.
So once a week, one of us was allowed to leave the house because we had to stay in the house together. And I was like, me, pick me. I got to get out of here. And I remember I would go to the grocery store and I would just walk around and I would literally be crying in the grocery store because I was so upset, but no one would let me go. And they were like, well, you'll be okay in the house with him. And I was like, I'm literally telling you, I'm not happy. I'm not okay. And they're like, well, we don't know what to do. So we'll let you know when you can leave. I was just like, okay. And they're like, we can put you on meds. And I was like, don't
Who
get
was
me
this?
out of here.
Who was saying this? Doctors? Who was saying this?
Yeah. They gave me a psychiatrist. I went to a psychologist at first, and then they said, no, you can go to a psychiatrist so you can put on meds. And I tried it, but it was just because I was crying and they were like, well, we don't think it'll hurt you. We don't think anything, blah, blah, blah. You'll be fine. Just be
Wow.
on
And these are
medications and
trained professionals too.
yeah, suppress all your emotions and just be a zombie. And I was like, I gotta get out of here, like far, far away.
They sound
So
like terrible doctors.
I, it's the military. I don't know their qualifications. I have not had that
I
at
hope
a
they have.
real
They don't
doctor's
sound
office.
qualified to me.
That's not saying I didn't see any kind of paperwork, so I don't know. But I know I was not happy with their suggestions. Didn't
Neither
serve
am
me.
I.
Huh?
Neither am I said.
Oh yeah, yeah, like no one. Yeah. So yeah, I've been through a lot, but I really want to let people know that you don't have to stay in that place.
You will eventually get out, regardless of what the situation is. You will eventually get out of that place. What is
If you
that?
want to, you will
One of my
eventually get out.
favorite sayings is "This too shall pass," because
Yes.
that applies to everything, doesn't it?
No, literally, I teach my kids like their emotions are clouds. They're going to pass.
Yeah.
And so my son will literally like cloud.
Yeah. You know, one thing about me, I try not to think in terms of happily ever after anymore. I try to think in terms of like some days are good, some days are bad, some days are good, some days are bad, and that's life. I don't really think in terms of like one day I'll be happy. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, one day you'll be happy, and then maybe an hour later you're not, or the next day you're
Exactly.
not,
Exactly.
because they're emotions,
Yeah.
they're energy in motion. They're not supposed to be permanent. If
Yeah.
you were happy all the time, I would think you're crazy.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be,
Healthy. It wouldn't be
yeah, it
healthy.
would not be healthy at all. You would have to suppress so much in order to be fake happy all the time.
Because
I'd rather
like
be authentic.
Yeah, because like we mentioned before, negative emotions are actually very useful. Anxiety can, the reason why I don't go 100 miles per hour is because of anxiety, right? It keeps me safe. Anger motivates us to set boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Sadness slows us down. So negative emotions are very, very useful. You also want to talk about binge eating?
I mean, it was just part of the process. I feel like women know they should leave relationships, but we stay longer because part of our conditioning is to, you know, play nice, be soft, be his peace. So even though we're not getting our needs met or we're not happy, I feel like a lot of times women stay longer than they need to.
Hmm.
And that for me showed up in he would go drink and I would make cookies and I would just eat the cookies. And I
Mm.
gained like, oh, 35 pounds.
Wow.
I beat my pregnancy weight
Wow.
once I started
Wow.
eating these cookies every night. And I was like, dude, this, like, again, this is killing me. I'm not happy. I don't feel like I have love or support. I feel alone. I'm getting fat. I was just like, what? What am I doing? So when you really look at yourself and you take, an audit of your life and you realize the common denominator is you suppressing your emotions, you putting other people first, or you not setting a boundary, it's like, oh, what am I doing? So I had to learn to be okay pissing people off. I
Yeah.
had to be okay using my voice to say what I need.
Hmm.
And if I never went through that, I don't think I could have the beautiful relationships that I have now.
Hmm.
And I don't think my kids, again, I did this all for them. I don't think our relationship would be so great. There's times that I'm like, oh, and they're like, you're stressed. It's okay. Take a breath. But if I had continued the cycle, I probably would have just been stressed, yelled at them, and then like sent them to their rooms or something.
Mm.
And it wouldn't have given me the connection and the relationship that I desired so deeply
As a child,
as a child. And then as an adult, I'll be damned if I make someone else go through that,
yeah.
Like I have a daughter and I didn't want her to live like I lived. That's all I knew. And so because of that, these steps happened and I got here.
It's funny because just today I was thinking this morning about how a lot of parents like they just like all they know is the word no, 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 no. They don't know the words like why? Why do you play video games all day? Why do you think they don't ask why enough. Why do you want to wear makeup? Why do you, want to eat chocolate cake all day? Like they don't I feel like a lot of parents don't sit down and ask why enough.
Yeah, but so that affects the child so much because if you're just like, no, what I said, word is bond, you
Yeah.
don't get any kind of, rebuttal or conversation,
Uh-huh.
then they're not going to be able to use their critical thinking. When later on in life something happens and someone says no to them, they're just, oh, okay. But you could miss opportunities, promotions, all kinds of things if you don't feel comfortable speaking up. And if you don't have that critical thinking skill of why, it's annoying when you teach your children to ask questions because sometimes I want to be like, because
Yeah, yeah.
but like my son, I said, he asked me if he could buy a toy, if I could buy him a toy. And I said, do you think you deserve this toy? And he goes, no. And I was like, you
Interesting.
don't? And he
Really?
was like,
How old is he?
8. And,
And he
and
said
then
no to that?
he
Interesting.
said no. And I was like, what do you mean? You don't think you deserve it? Didn't you clean your room? Didn't you get all A's and B's? And he's like, yeah, yeah, I did. I said, okay, well, make me an argument. Like the world can be your oyster. But if you just take what other people say and you're living for other people, or if someone tells you no, you're just like, oh, if in my business, if I put something out there and I got a no and I just stopped, it would have never made any money.
Yeah.
No's aren't final. They
Yeah.
can be redirection. They can be a conversation starter. I just, yeah, I want to do it differently. I want the world to start thinking differently.
You want the, can you be a little bit more like, what would you, that, there's this question that I heard. I found it such an interesting question. The question goes, if you ha could say one thing to the entire world, just one sentence, what would you say?
I don't know how I would say it, but like we're all souls in a body.
Hmm.
I feel like so many times people look at people and judge them, or people have, hate and project or whatever, but we're all humans. And this is my first time on the earth. I'm pretty sure it's your first time. So let's give each other some grace. No one has it all figured out. And if they did, it's probably Elon Musk. And then he doesn't even have it because look at his
He only
friends.
figured out money. He
Exactly.
didn't figure out this. He only figured out money.
So that's what I'm saying. No one has the blueprint. No one, has the answers or all of the answers. So let's just be a little bit kinder. Let's remember that we are all in this human experience together instead of labeling and judging and projecting. But I don't know how to say that quicker.
No, no, it's interesting because I noticed so much compassion in you, and it's like even though I never met her, you just sound so different from your mother. Like you just sound like you completely broke the cycle. Like you did a whole 180.
Well, when I get mad, she comes out. They're like, oh, I see her.
Well, you're
But
allowed to get mad.
yeah, yeah. But I don't know. I really think the more I learn about like, survival mode and stuff like that, I think she wasn't happy in her relationship. I think she didn't know how to regulate herself. And going through what I went through in life, I can relate to that. So that's where it was easy to forgive her. Because if I was always in happy relationships and never dated an alcoholic,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known that struggle,
Mm.
that deep sadness. So what if that's what she was going to, and that's why she couldn't emotionally hold me or be there for me because she didn't figure herself out first.
I
I
don't think
feel
she
like,
was happy with herself.
yeah, yeah, no, and you can't give from an empty cup. So we have to have either people or ourselves pouring into us so we can give, and she didn't have that. That's why I think that's something in me clicked. It was like I don't want to blame her. I
Yeah.
don't think she like even though it wasn't good, I think she was trying her best at
Yeah.
that time, which is sad, but
Well, th that's one thing I love about the world today. I feel like we are, a lot of people complain about like technology and social media and pollution, and the world is in many ways going to shit. But
mm-hmm.
one thing about the world is we're more psychologically and emotionally intelligent than ever before. And I noticed a lot of people breaking cycles. A lot of people on my podcast, very similar to you, they had parents who were very over aggressive, narcissistic, and I'm noticing a lot of people breaking cycles now, which is a beautiful thing to see. I feel like, and I feel like it's the millennials, like we do it the
Yes,
most.
yes, because we collectively went through similar upbringings and we're
Yeah,
like, hold up.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No
Something's got
more
to
of
change.
this.
Something's got to change.
No, we are not suffering in silence.
Yeah,
We saw what you did. We didn't like it. We're changing it. You know what I mean? Like, and I mean, that's what history class is for, to learn so we don't repeat.
yep.
So we are doing that in real time. And it just so happens we also had to survive COVID, 9/11, and all these other
Yep,
things.
yep. Yeah, the list goes on. And it's so interesting because everyone hates social media. And I get it, like it does, rot the brain and all this, but social media actually is one reason why like we're more psychologically and emotionally intelligent because that's how you spread your wisdom if I can. And
Yeah.
that's how I spread my words too. And so I feel like social media is at least good for that. You also wanted to talk about hiding parts of myself.
Well, I just think women in general, I think it's really hard for people who have been through hard stuff to be like, okay, I want to share it. I
Yeah.
want to talk about it. You know what I mean? Because it's emotional. And I remember at times I was shameful for what I went through or what I put myself through or what I allowed. And I didn't want to admit that I was in a toxic relationship. I didn't want to admit because it made me feel like I would be looked down on or I would
Yeah.
be
Judged.
lesser than admitting this. But it's just like AA or anything else. Like you have that's the first step to be aware, to admit it. And sometimes it's hard for people to admit things to themselves, so
Yeah.
they stay stuck.
Hmm.
But I had to think, okay, do I want to change or do I want to be comfortable? Because they're not going to be the same.
The only way to grow is to step outside of your comfort zone. And I really love how you talked about just how much we lie to ourselves. Human
Mm-hmm.
beings lie to themselves so much about, it's like, I'll give you an example, right? I noticed in the context of dating that everyone focuses on their strengths way more than their weaknesses. And like everyone focuses on what they offer and what they bring to the table, like 10 times more than like where they're, the baggage that they bring. You know what I mean?
No, I do know what you mean. My friend is dating now, and she went on a date with this guy, and he was saying how he left his wife and now he makes money. She stayed at home with the kid who was special needs. And he was basically like bragging on this date about how he left his wife, who had no job, who was at home watching their special needs son, and how now he's ready to live his life and party and like forget about her. And I was just like, that, like, do you think that makes a woman want to be with you? Knowing that you could just drop the mother of your child when she had no job and she was taking care of your son who has special needs, you think that makes you look good? But the audacity of people dating nowadays, they turn their baggage into like a fake strength. And that's why I feel like they're single.
Yeah, no, I'm laughing because I have so many stories and my friends have so many stories, and this need, like, when we have a part two, like a year
Yeah.
from now, we need to talk about dating, because dating, it's such a mess right now. And we can go on and on about like how narcissistic people are. And like, I mean, stories like that, like, even though I'm a man, like, stories like that make me want to just stay out the market, which I have been. But anyway, you also mentioned over managing everyone else's emotions. You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Okay, so I think as a woman who grew up with narcissistic parents, I felt like I had to see what was coming, like kind of just walk on eggshells. If I don't rock the boat, I'm less likely to get in trouble. So that made me hyper aware of other people's emotions. And that made me want to overgive because
Mm,
it, like, say I just met you and you're like,
yep.
oh, you dropped your pencil. Let me pick it up for you. Oh, you know what I mean? If I'm constantly doing stuff, then maybe you'll think I'm nicer. Maybe you'll like me more.
Yeah.
So it was about people pleasing,
Hmm.
but it was actually selfish because it wasn't because I'm a kind person I wanted to help. It
You
was
want it to
because
be
I wanted
liked.
to be liked.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between people pleasing to help and people pleasing to be liked. Those are two different things.
Yeah, but it's not people pleasing if you're doing it out of like natural kindness.
Right. Right.
That's just you
That's just being
doing what
kind.
you
Yeah.
would have done. Your
Right.
reflexes said, "Oh, he dropped his pencil. I'll give him a pencil."
Hmm.
But when I rush over and I move, I must get his pencil. Like, you know what I mean? Like, then it's
Yeah.
like, "What? Are you okay?" It's like, "I
Yeah.
need people to like me." Like it's wild, and I feel like a lot of women have been conditioned this way because we are taught to want external validation, to look pretty, to be smart, to get the good grades,
To get
whatever.
more likes.
Yeah, get or on social media, get more likes.
Yep.
But I don't feel like, again, I don't understand why we don't teach this in elementary school. People are prioritizing their own validation.
Hmm.
And if we did that, again, I think bullying would have less of an impact. I think a lot of arguments would go away because my daughter, I have taught her to be a strong willed woman, which Lord help me. But someone was bullying another girl. And she was like, let's go over here. Let's play, like, forget about them.
Hmm.
And so the girl started being rude to my daughter. And she came up to me and she's like, Mom, what is she said that she was stupid or something. Luna said that she was stupid. And she was like, Mom, Luna said I was stupid. And she was like, isn't that so stupid of her? Because I have great grades and I know I'm smart. You know what I mean? But like as soon as someone tried to come at her, she was like, how silly of you. I know I'm good. You know what I mean? Because I every day when we're looking in the mirror, I'm like, look at my strong legs. Like I don't make it about like fat. Or
Hmm.
if someone says something to me, I'm like, that was weird. I know I'm great. You know what I mean? And so when I'm doing that, she's mirroring what I'm doing because we can tell people all day to do something until we're black and blue, but they're going to do what they see us do, not what we tell them.
Hmm.
So we have to be the example. So because I don't seek validation or make other people's opinion of me mean more than my own opinion, she has adapted that. And I feel like if there was a course for girls, I would sign every girl up I knew because I think that would really help us later on in life in dating. There's probably your soulmate's probably out there married but scared to leave because she's like, well, what if no one loves me? I have legs or a tummy.
Yeah, it's so crazy because I feel like the world just constantly makes us question ourselves and constantly make us like with with your daughter what I notice is that her friend, or not, maybe not her friend, but the other girl made her
Mm-hmm.
question herself a little bit, and that's what the world does. It just makes us question ourselves over and over again.
Yeah, it puts all these like beliefs we didn't ask for onto us and it disconnects us from ourselves. So I don't understand why there's like no course where you come back to yourself. I mean, there are some schools where they incorporate like spirituality and like mindfulness and stuff like that, but you have to pay a lot to get into those
Yeah,
schools.
yeah.
And the people who need it the most are the people who aren't
Can't
getting it.
afford it.
Yeah, can't afford it.
Yeah.
So I understand social media can be negative because you can compare and people can lie and make their lives look better.
Hmm.
But in my darkest moment, when I felt like I had no one,
Hmm.
I made a friend online who was also going through a dark time. And because we didn't really know each other, like I was in Spain, he was in Florida, we were able to share our secrets. We were able to connect. And there's been so many times that I've met someone online that I don't know, you right now, that
Yep.
I don't know.
Hmm.
But if I was having a hard day and I said, you know what, I'm really having a hard time, this is how I feel, that person would be like, snap out of it, bitch. I know you. Or they would hold space for me to, you know, feel my emotions or whatever. So, yes, social media can be negative, but it also can be beautiful for connecting us. And that's what I think it was meant for at first to
Yeah.
share our lives
It's
with people.
it's it's our job to use it correctly, and it's our
Exactly.
yeah. It's and it's also, even though I'm not a parent, it's really important to monitor what your children use it for. I mean, I if I actually, I would like to know, like, do you give them smartphones, or at what age will you give them a smartphone?
My daughter has a phone,
Hmm.
but she's not very, like, she's not on social media.
Okay.
She normally, like, literally this morning, I was like, where's your phone? She's like, I don't know. And I was like, it's downstairs. And it's like, it's not charged
How old is
because it's
she?
literally, she's 11, but it's like a
Okay.
house phone now
Uh-huh.
because I don't have a way to reach her. Like when
Uh-huh.
she goes on the bus and stuff like that, it's
Mhm.
basically just so I can communicate with her.
Right,
She
right.
doesn't use it like a normal teen yet.
Yet.
That is, yeah, that is what scares me. That I don't know how.
It's coming
I'm gonna be
eventually.
snooping. I try to give good boundaries for myself, but I already know I'm gonna be like, "Who are you texting?"
There's only so much you could do. So the
Yeah.
last topic I wanted to talk about was self-abandonment. I would love to talk about that. Tell us about, what your experience with that.
Well, I think we mentioned it a little bit here and there, but I think it's something we all do. Anytime we don't speak up, anytime we say yes when we really mean no, those little moments disconnect you from yourself.
Mm,
And a lot of women have issues with confidence and self trust. And I have, coached them. I have made all these programs. And I realize it's because she says, "Oh, I'm going to go to the gym." Then she doesn't go to the gym. Okay. Then someone asks her to do something, but she really wanted to, like watch her favorite TV show, but she said yes. And she goes and does that instead of pouring into her cup. And then eventually she's exhausted. She's drained. She has nothing to show for it of what she wanted because she was putting other people pleasing, putting other people first, trying to be likable. And I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm in like my unlikable era, but I don't care about being likable. Like I want to be happy. If
Yeah.
there's a happier likable, I'm like happiness
Yeah.
all day, babe.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
but for so long we're told to be nice, to be kind, to help people, to put other people first, to not be selfish. So a lot of people don't feel like they have the permission to say, I don't want to do that. I want to go watch TV. They feel like they're obligated to help a person out or do this thing this other person wants. And then they get disconnected from themselves because they're abandoning themselves and then they don't have trust. They don't, so many women outsource their power or their thoughts. It's crazy to me. Crazy. I literally asked the girl, I was like, "Well, what do you want your brand to be about?" She's like, "I don't know." And I was like, "Okay, well, we'll talk tomorrow." She said, "I went and I asked 5 friends." I was like, "You asked 5 friends what your brand should be about? Babe, what are you going to do when you get the client? You're going to
Uh-huh.
ask your friends to coach them too?"
Uh-huh.
Like,
Uh-huh.
you have to you can't outsource your power if you
Mhm.
want to be a powerful person.
Mhm. I don't know how
So,
you feel, but I go to ChatGPT a lot for like a lot of questions.
all right, that's basically Google. That's fine. But I'm saying
Yeah.
if I say, "What's your favorite color?" And you're like, I'm not sure. "Hey, Brian, what's your favorite color?" "Justin, what do you like? You like blue?" "Okay, I think my favorite color is blue now." You know what I mean? Like,
It's all about external validation.
yeah,
And social media
I,
definitely made that worse.
well, but also society.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We didn't praise people for being authentic and knowing their selves. We praise people for being grouped mindsets,
Mhm.
sheep like
Yeah,
mentality.
yeah.
So it's not surprising, but I think part of my mission is just to help women come home to themselves
Mhm.
so then they can really have a life that feels good to them. Because if you are asking other people what they want and they're like, "Okay," like my mom wanted me to be very successful. She wanted me to go to college. She wanted, like, she had it all mapped out how she wanted it. I would have never enjoyed the life. My mom would have made me like a CEO, bro. She would have made me wake up at 5 a.m., do cold plunges, work out. Like, I would not have been happy. I don't want your life, your life, your life. I want my life.
Yeah.
Therefore, I have to know what I like and know who I am so I can create a life that embodies all of that, not waking up at 5 a.m.
Yeah, that lifestyle is only meant for like certain people. It's certainly not me, you know. I feel like we're very similar in the sense that we just love to advocate for mental health and self-growth. And yeah, I mean, I kind of ran out of questions. Was there anything else you wanted to add or ask?
No, I'm ready for the part 2 dating.
I'm ready for that. We'll do that in a few months. That's going to be amazing. It's going to be all about dating.
I'm gonna go survey. I'm talking about boyfriend. I'm like, I'm getting a Tinder for research.
Definitely, no, we're going to have a part two. But thank you so much for coming on, Amber. I really appreciate
Yes,
you.
thank you for having me. It was so good to finally chat.